Going back to one of our top stories this morning, where 4 mine workers have died following a rock fall at Sibanye-Stillwater's Driefontein mine in Carletonville, the far west of Gauteng. For the latest on the ground, we are now joined from the scene in Carletonville by our reporter Chriselda Lewis. A very good morning to Chriselda. What is the latest from the scene? Speaking to Mr. Peter Bailey, NUM's Health and Safety Chairperson, he had confirmed this morning that there were 3 miners still trapped underground and that they were not communicating with them.
Well, that's right, Shante. As I speak to you, rescue operations are still underway at this hour for 3 of the miners that remain trapped underground. The media is not being allowed much closer to that Masakane shaft that you can see there, but we're told that this rescue operation for these 3 miners that remain trapped is still underway right now. Well, this was from yesterday at about 1:30 in the afternoon, where there was a seismic event, and at the time there'd been 13 miners that were underground. 6 others remain in hospital, and we understand that they are in a stable condition, and we're told by the mine at this stage that the rescue operations will continue until they do retrieve the miners who remain trapped underground. I'm going to bring in very quickly James Walstead, who is the spokesperson for Sibanye, just to give us an update on what the latest is here. James, thank you very much for joining us. A massive concern at this stage. If you could come this way for us, thank you. Massive concern at this stage about how many others are trapped, what is their condition, and are you sure they're still alive at this point?
Listen, we can't be sure they're alive. Only when we make contact with them will we be able to confirm that. But as you said, there are 3 still out of the 13 who we haven't been able to free from the loose rock.
Have you been able to locate exactly where they are? Is there any indication from your rescue operators at this point as to how far they are down the shaft?
We know exactly where they are. This is one particular stope that was affected by the seismic event, and there were 13 people who were operating in the area, so we know their location. The difficulty is obviously getting to them because there's tons of loose material to clear before you can get to them, and making sure that we don't put our rescue teams into a difficult position as well, and make sure that it's safe for them at the same time.
Talk us through exactly what happened. I understand that there were 3 seismic events that took place that led to the situation that we're speaking of now.
Well, seismicity is a regular occurrence that we deal with at our mines. We've got quite extensive monitoring systems in place, and we picked up an earlier event on the western side of our mine, approximately an hour before the event that caused this incident. We did start with to secure that area, but then this incident caused a fall of rock in the stope, this particular stope. And we've been obviously working consistently since then to try and free the employees who've been trapped there.
Do we know how long it's going to take to try and free the remaining miners who are underground at this stage? Any indication of how far the process is now?
We can't say. I mean, it all depends on the specific area that they're caught in, how dangerous it is to get to them. We need to make sure we don't injure any other people in the process. So we'll continue to give our best efforts, but it's uncertain.
Those who are in hospital at this stage, the earlier report I got was that they were in a stable condition. Is that so this morning?
That's correct. So they're still under observation and they're stable at this point, but we'll continue to observe them.
The 4 now that have died, we understand as well that as early as yesterday, after the event had taken place, there were some family members that had been gathered waiting for news on their loved ones. Have you located the family members of those? Is there counselling that's being provided to them?
So yes, I mean, we immediately obviously contacted, as soon as we got the names of the individuals, we contacted the family members. We've offered transport logistics for them to bring them to the operations, and we'll provide regular support and counselling. Some of them are from other countries, Mozambique, Lesotho and rural areas, so that will take a little bit longer to get them here, but obviously we are engaging and we're continuing to talk to them on a regular basis.
There is concern from the National Union of Mine Workers at this stage that the safety itself needs to be looked at to avoid this kind of a situation from taking place. Even though you may not control seismic events, but the necessary precautions need to be in place to ensure that there's a quick response to that. Why do you think that there wasn't a quicker response to this? Yes, you'd monitored it, as you said, you picked it up quite early, but why was it? Did it take so long to try and get to the miners?
It was almost immediate. I mean, we had the proto teams ready very quickly, so that's not correct that it took long. I mean, we started the rescue process almost immediately. In fact, our support systems are very good and cater for seismicity. What we'll have to do in this instance is to do an investigation once we've rescued the employees and see whether there was anything that led to the ground collapsing in this particular instance. As I said, there was an earlier incident on the West Mine, which was actually a bigger event in which there was no collapse of ground. So, our support systems are generally able to cater for these kind of events. So we'll do the necessary investigation with the DMR.
James, but this is not the first time that this has happened. If I recall, I think it was last year, at the very same Masakane mine, you had one person that was killed also, who died. Are your measures working? Are they good enough while you cannot control seismic activity, but to respond to crises such as this, to ensure that no more lives are lost?
Yeah, I mean, we've got policies and procedures in place, and all of the unions, are involved in the safety processes that we develop. So we constantly trying to find ways to remove situations where our employees can come to harm, and we continually trying to, if remedial action is possible, we'll take it. But, we need to investigate to see what exactly caused this before we can make a comment on that.
All right. So for now, clearly, the systems that are in place are not sufficient because there continues to be loss of life. Last year you had the situation. Now you have 4 other people who have died.
I don't think last year's was a seismic event necessarily, so it may have been another situation which led to the employee loss of life there. But generally our systems are sufficient to cater for seismicity. We'll have to investigate this particular incident to see why the fall of rock wasn't prevented. But, we can't comment until we've done that investigation.
Right. James Walstead, the spokesperson, thank you very much for your time for Sibanye, who is telling us that they're not sure how long this rescue operation will continue for. There are still 3 miners that are trapped underground at this stage, 4 others confirmed dead, as well as 6 others that remain in a stable condition in hospital. So I guess it's going to be a couple of hours. Right now, he says that the rescue team does know where the 3 who are still trapped are at this stage, but they still have to assess how dangerous it is to try and go and find those miners, not known at this stage as well whether they are still alive. And I think it'll be of greater concern as the time goes by, as the clock ticks, on whether they'll be able to find these miners alive. The media, once again, Shante, not allowed near exactly where this incident took place, as the rescue operations are still underway at this stage.
Definitely. Thank you very much for giving us that update. Chriselda Lewis for SABC News in Carletonville.